Hello, my name is Jasjeet Kaur, and the cross-gender leisure activity project that I'm going to do is going to be on video games. I'm going to play a Nintendo Switch, and the particular game that I'm going to be playing is called Zelda. It is the newest game that came in 2017, and I'm going to try and see how it works out. So, where it all started, history of video games. It started in the early 1950s. The first video game that was recognized by people was Two Tennis Game. It was the first game that was the forerunner of the modern video game. It was introduced on October 18, 1958. It was a two-person game with separate controllers that was connected to an analog computer. It was created by William Higginbotham. Later, another game was introduced, and it was called Pong, which was a massive hit. It was a game that was created in the 1970s. Pong was a two-player arcade game that was initially for couples in bars, but then became available to families. Why was it only for men and young kids? Meal became a target to make money. Boys were raised to be gamers, and it became an expression of masculinity. Many women loved playing video games, but the industry didn't care about them. Missed, a female game that was released in 1993, the same year Doom was released, which was for young men and adults. Myst did attract a strong female audience but didn't have much impact on the gaming industry. It was because video game developers didn't have to care. Targeting men gave them the money that they needed. There were several games that were made like Doom, but not a lot that were like Myst. Due to there were lack of in several games there were lack of female characters, violence was shown against women, and over sexualization. It's not like playing video games. They loved playing video games, but there weren't just enough games for them. In several games, women were portrayed as victims. Mostly all games were male oriented, such as combat games. And marketers liked to focus on one demographic, which was male, because that what made money. And mostly all the games that were made in the past were made by men. They were the makers, they were the buyers, and they were the players. They didn't concentrate on the other demographic because they didn't want to lose their one demographic that they make the most money out of, which was male audience. While women make about more than 50% of the world's population, but they're concentrating on one demographic. In several of the video games, it showed that devoid of female characters. So in one of the articles, it showed that 41% of the games were devoid of female characters, and only 15%, which is 5 out of 33, portrayed women. 924 gender and racial stereotypes in popular video games as heroes or action figures, while 21%, 7 out of 33, portrayed women as victims, and they were mostly shown as sex symbols. That didn't attract the women audience, and which discouraged them to play further video games. Some of my theories. Video games are not perceived to be for women. If they were perceived to be for women, there would have been more selections of video games. If you go at a shop, you might not see video games placed at a women aisle because they're not meant for women. If the selection at an average retailer is anything to go by, girls don't play video games. If cultural stereotypes are anything to go by, video games are for males. They're the makers, they're the buyers, and they're the players. There are no games for women. I believe now it is changing. Video games are changing for women. In the past, it was considered only for men and young boys. Mostly all violent or manly games were created. Not a lot of women played video games, considered women as weak and posed them as victims. Now, in the present, we see more of a balance in between both genders. According to Christian Lucas and John L. Sherry, 76% of family homes with at least one boy own video games, as compared to 58% of homes with at least one girl video game. So it is changing over time, but it needs to be more of a balance where makers and marketers would think of creating more games for both genders equally. As I said before, it is not for a woman at all, mostly. It is for young boys and men. Women are not given the same access to money, coaching, and they are denied equal participation due to lack of strength, lack of physical strength, and they don't think they have the mental capacity to be in such uh, aggravated games. So as you can see in the background, a picture of a violent game. It is shown totally nothing. It says anything which will attract a women audience. There's nothing male. It is everything male oriented. There's nothing a woman would like to see that would appeal to her. One of the common belief that is discussed in our course materials that women are not physically fit, and which is not true, but it is believed in by many, since women were believed to be unable to bear prolonged mental and physical strength, and games and sports were modified for women, and women were encouraged to do cultivate good form rather than establish records. So many people didn't see women playing video games. So many people might have thought that video games are not for them. So they didn't make as many games that would appeal a women audience. So men play it for leisure. Young boys play it when they get off from school and they're tired and they need to get their minds off of schoolwork. So they play video games. They are spending quality time with their friends and they're having fun. And it is their time to relax. Whereas men, they are tired from work and want to get things out of their mind, off of work, so they play video games. They feel more competitive. They feel like no one can defeat them. And they are more encouraged to play video games than do their work or do homework. My experience at playing video games was good and bad. I played Zelda in Nintendo Switch. It was released in 2017. It was the newest game. There was a lot of popularity about this game, and a lot of people wanted to buy it, and it was sold out, and we barely got it. So I wanted to try it out. I got it from my sister that loves playing video games. At first, it was really hard to figure out the levels and how I should defeat the person and move up. But at times I felt defeated because I couldn't move up a level. And it was really hard to understand because there were no directions on how to play and how to how to maneuver things. It was as I go, I would find out, I would ask my sister a little bit, and then I would move up a level. But I couldn't go without without being defeated once. Once I was defeated, we reset it again. So it took a while, but at the end, I really understood how to play it. It was a good experience. I think if I had concentrated more, if it was something that would have attracted me, I would have played a little bit more. But I feel like it was a good game. Zelda was again for male players. It was a bit violent because you had to kill people in order to pass another level. It was not for women, mostly not for women players. Tried a different game which featured more female players. It was more entertaining. It was called Just Dance. It was totally for women. It was more entertaining, and I felt that I was more attracted to that game than to Zelda. I wanted to try both the games, and I wanted to see the difference, and I wanted to see how different they were. And Zelda and Just Dance were totally different from one another. Zelda was a lot more violent, where Just Dance was for both genders. It was easy to play. It needed physical strength, which a lot of people said that women didn't have physical strength. So it was the best game that I described that was great entertainment for leisure time and was great for women to play as well. Overall, I would say I liked Just Dance a lot better than Zelda. So this is me playing Just Dance at the very left, and at the very right I'm playing Zelda, and I got to round 2, and it was really fun playing. I especially liked playing Just Dance. Finally, this is my bibliography, and I've cited everything that I have used in my presentation. And I hope you guys liked my presentation. Thank you. And this is my second page of bibliography.